All right. Hello and welcome once again to Beyond the Physical with me, your host, Sitara. I'm here once again with some dear friends of mine. Yes, you guessed it. We met in Bali. um, so, Jodie is a nutrition and digestive expert, but that has also shifted and catapulted into incorporating some really powerful technology into this world with her partner, John. So, what we want to do is explore the goodness of what it is that they are offering. And I will say that the first time that they sent me their website, which I highly recommend you check out, you can find it in the link in the description below. But the first time I saw it, I knew that there was something so powerful that they were creating. So I am absolutely honored to have them here with us today. Thank you so much for being here. Can you share a little bit more about what it is that you are working towards and creating and actually building on this planet?
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's such an honor, and I'm sure many of the people on here are from Bali because there's so many amazing people I also have met there. Um, so yeah, like from the journey of my physical body and learning about health and detox, there's always been something deeper. And when I met Jan, we really started to lock in what we're here to do on this planet, like really. And that's creating spaces for all of us. You know, we're all feeling this call right now that where is home? And many of us are trying to find this place that really feels like home because we're not living in spaces that make us thrive. We're not living in places that are designed harmoniously with our spirit, with our soul, you know?
Mm. So yeah, and this is a big, great exploration right now we are having in this very moment, and we call that our soul's guidance, and we would love to deeply explore that with you right now. And yeah, we are quite excited basically for all of this journey is unfolding in each second right now. So let's go.
Let's go. I'm with you on that one. There's a question that just sparked for me because I think it's very common for the three of us to speak about our soul's guidance and where we're going because it's our soul's journey, which I would say is fully aligned with divine purpose. So, before we really dive into what you're experiencing as your soul's purpose, as you're creating, can you explain how you found that your path to that and how that purpose really started opening up? And not only that, but what is the certainty and how did you really connect into the certainty of that being your soul's guidance?
Hmm. Well, Infinite Design actually is been with us for a quite time right now. It's been like more than 10 years ago. It just changed my world view by tapping into the language of the old creation. It was such a drastic change that from a single pointed materialistic understanding of the nature through exploring this language through watching the nature and finding the connection within us and within all around us, how we create this reality, how we create this formation of life. It was a basically big catalyst for everything. Actually, Infinity born with creating some multidimensional art pieces to as a multidimensional meditative objects. So during the time is evolving, and right now this art pieces are turning into art spaces as a technologies that we can go inside of.
Mm.
So
And where it
yeah,
locked in was,
yeah.
you know, we were in Mexico at the time, and
Mm,
you know, we keep hearing everyone, like I mentioned before, everyone's speaking about this, and we're having the same visions. We're all seeing the same thing. We're seeing the same temples. We're having meditative experience. We're having dreams, and when we speak to each other, when we come together in communities, and for me personally, when I hear other people saying they've seen what I've seen, uh, okay, this is what we're here to do, and we
mm,
can't do it alone. And we keep finding our soul
mm,
family that are doing it. We're connecting with other people. And it's like this big jigsaw puzzle piece. We keep finding people, and I know I've been collecting these people my whole life. And now at this time, right here, right now, I feel like we've almost got all the jigsaw puzzle pieces to come together to create this. Like it's time to rebuild the temples on earth. And it just feels, we just know it, that you can feel it in our bodies,
Yeah.
you know. It's just,
And there are many of us right now walking on this planet for the exact same. Here's the time we all feel in our heart space, the time for transformation of this planet. And it's time for shifting our human experience to the next level. And everybody has their own basic bits and puzzle piece in here. And it's a fascinating journey to explore that with you, with so many of our beloved friends right now. Is there always fascinatingly divine journey to just find ourselves in these matching pieces?
yeah.
That I think that's one of my favorite part of like being a magical being in this world. Like one, we know that it can be a little bit isolating. So you're like, where are my people? And Jodie, you said it so clearly, where is home? You know, and there's a story that I do want to share to that, because that story of me finding that piece of home is also very resonant to what you guys are creating. And so but the magical being piece, it's like we attract each other, we find, and then it's like, what's your lane, what's your job, what's like, what did you sign up for me, mine's humans. I know I'm here to up level and support the illumination of human hearts, and my question is, where are we going to do that, and what's the best place to find? This is the part that I'm really excited to learn from you guys. And I do want to say, if you're listening and you haven't already clicked to the website, click to the website so that you can see what we're talking about, because having the visual right there as you're listening, it's going to open your clairvoyance, it's going to open your periphery. And if all goes well, it's going to open some soul memories that you've had on Atlantis and on Lemuria and in some of these fallen and lost civilizations that are coexisting in a different dimension at all times with us in the here and now. So what has been your inspiration? I know that you mentioned creating physical objects, but what has been your inspiration to really start building these places? And have you already started building these places here now?
Yeah.
As a basic starting point, just this single moment around us, this nature that we look everywhere, that's the, I would say, primary teacher and the calling point for many of us. You mentioned a very beautiful point of remembering and reconnecting with our aligned particles basically as each other. So it's been a calling, and the whole life is calling us to that too. As a primary inspiration, I would say that the nature and the harmony in nature coexisting, how the all living creature basically supports each other without basically putting on themselves each other, and finding this regenerative living way of thriving. That would be, I would say, the primary step to formulate everything.
Well, I think it's also, we see people out of alignment with nature.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing people suffering in the world, and as people that are so empathetic, it hurts. It hurts to see the world suffering when really the answer is on our doorstep. It's the birds, it's the trees. All the answers are there in front of us. We're not creating something new. We're just remembering what we're here to do. We used to walk into a field and we'd know what to eat for our bodies. We used to know to put our hands on the earth to ground to clear our field. We've forgotten this. And that's our deepest inspiration, is to actually create spaces that by simply sleeping in them, learning in them, doing things in these spaces, you're healing just by being in them, which will help us to remember.
Oh, yeah. And seeing this basically how life itself creating more harmonious, and checking into our current state of human evolution right now in the whole world, what's wrong with us? So this guidance basically led so many people to investigate the nature. There is a lots of basic studies that's been done through biomimicry, biophilia, to see the effects basically on human beings, and applying this primary language and primary harmonious effects in our own life, and we can now see how we can improve our lives.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
So
sorry, we didn't answer your other question, but continue. You also asked if we're actually physically building the spaces.
Oh, yeah.
The answer is yes. We can talk more about that in a minute, though.
Yeah, there's something that's like just shooting through me right now. Are you guys familiar? Well, are you guys familiar with orgone technology?
Yeah.
Right? And the
I'm not.
orgone pendants and all of that
Yeah.
that
Oh,
we
yes,
see,
yes,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
overnight.
So are you familiar with Wilhelm Reich?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just feeling really called to share a little bit about Wilhelm Reich for those who are unfamiliar. Wilhelm Reich was somebody that I learned about when I was getting my degree in psychology, and I got my degree at Sonoma State, which is a very liberal, very open, I would say, psychology department, and one of the best in California. And so when we were learning about Wilhelm Reich, and Kate Bush actually has a song about this, about like, controlling the weather and that sort of thing. But Wilhelm Reich had developed these orgone boxes, and these orgone boxes were to help people heal and regenerate and to cure diseases. Well, he was approved to work with a very small amount of clients that were terminally ill cancer patients that were like literally a month left to live, sort of thing. And that was what he was approved to work with. Well, he was able to work with them, and there weren't any successes because these people had already, like, their body had already been overrun with the illness. But ultimately, what the government did was they ended up putting him in jail, taking all of his work, burning all of his work, and destroying all of his research. And I don't want to like bring that into the space to, bring fear or whatever, but this is a story of an extremely powerful technology that was developed by literally walking into or being in this box that would cure and rebalance the prana and the mana and just how the chi, it's like pick your vocab word of how that life force energy is flowing through. But as you're speaking, that's a lot of like what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is that connection to that regenerative life force energy by connecting with the technology of the buildings that you're building, as well as working in harmony with the earth, which is mostly made of quartz. So when we access that's here, we know that the quartz and crystal technology in combination with these designs can really be a very powerful space and a very powerful place to regenerate. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And also, yes, please share where you've already been building this and how that's been going.
First of all, there are plenty of studies on Earth that's been done, and they're extremely mesmerizing results we have now. It's all about resonance field, and we are enhancing these field effects through several different techniques. There are so many studies done, Russians done lots of pyramid technologies, and they discovered that under certain field effects, we can change the molecular structure of matter. Water crystals change, the fertility rates are increased, the germinations are changed. It is fascinating basically how we are not learning this information in the elementary school.
Yeah.
It is kind of fascinating that how we put under the carpet and somehow we suppress to explore this. But if we make our own research, we can find more than hundreds, maybe thousands of different studies that showing mesmerizing results that we can enhance the living formations.
Yeah, and within our team, we have people that can do a vocal harmonics analysis. So they record your vocal frequency, and then they create a power symbol that we actually wire underneath the floor. So you're walking on it, and then we can use elements of that shape into the architecture, into the artwork in the space, into the interior design. So it's infused with your personal resonant vibrational frequency. So we have access to these tools, and we also have people in our team that are doing studies with the germination. They're putting these grids into spaces and they're comparing, the growth rates, and it's crazy to see the differences. And if that's happening to germination, imagine what's happening inside our body. Right?
Yeah, it is like proven science right now. We don't have to invent the wheel again. There's so many pioneers that found out these fundamental, let's say, language of life, and they apply it in so many different ways. And yeah, we can now see all of the clinically proven studies that it is working. It's not just woo-woo that we are talking about, but it is enhancing the living systems to deep of their mitochondrial regeneration, to their life force energies. We can see and test them right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of technology out there that's kind of underground, you could call it, that is being kind of suppressed and hidden, because there is, you know, it's good to speak about kind of the downside of what's going on really in the world, that this technology is already existing, but there's certain forces out there that don't want us to have it because it destroys these $1 million companies. And it's good to talk about that because it's real, not to shed fear. But the more of us that become educated, the more of us that know and demand this, if we believe in it and we actually know it's real, it's not magic, it's actually physical technology that exists, and we can all have this in our lives. So I just share that for us all to like feel that in our bodies. Let's believe that we can all have this in our lives.
And that there are those of us who are literally designed to come into this world and to bring these technologies here. I've been seeing
Yeah.
that with people as I've, worked in the digital revolution and been, linked to kind of higher circles of people and developers who are creating the metaverse and who are creating, these leading edge digital things. And for me, there was a lot of fear around it, especially after, being in Bali and having some very earthly, very natural, very, connected experiences and being like, well, what is all this technology? And what I started seeing was I was doing readings with people in that field, and I started seeing that they are soul contracted, like they have the embedded information, the embedded intelligence inside of them already because that is what they are here to create and do. And so there's a part of that element that really gave me a lot of solace, and also to what you're doing. And I mean, a lot of the speakers that we have here on the summit, but that there's a certain level of protection and there's a certain level of support. Like I've never felt more etherically supported in my life. And I've also never been more challenged with getting my message out there online than now. I used to make
Yeah.
videos and they would get, 2,000 to 3,000 views in the first day. And that was at the beginning of putting these things out here. Now I'm lucky if I get 20 to 30. And
Yeah.
so I want to speak to that because, like you're saying, it's like, are there forces or experiences or things that are going out there, seen or unseen, that are really doing a lot to keep this kind of under wraps? And on one side, there is the protective aspect of it. It's like, with those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, may they find us easily. And those without, may they continue to stay in their dimension in this reality as well. So I do just want to simply share a prayer to that for your work, because it is so I don't want to say it's like it's ancient and it's cutting edge. It's bringing the wisdom of the ancient technologies and the golden ages of when civilizations here on this planet have been in harmony with nature and have been in harmony with the evolution of the consciousness here, and where we're at now in this world, and seeing, I like to say it as temperature. It's like seeing the global climate or seeing the global temperature vibrationally of how we're able to anchor that light. And so I love to hear of what you're saying and connecting that to nature, because it's like, in order to be the alchemist, there's so many visionaries and we see the vision, but in order to be the alchemist, and what you're doing is literally bringing it into the third dimension. You can walk in the doors, you can walk in the floors, you can see it all around you, and you can feel that resonance of how it's up leveling your own consciousness, how it's healing, how it's ascending, and how it's creating a very, very powerful imprint in the collective unconscious. And I
Mm-hmm.
can probably even say more than you know. I know that you know, but also probably more than you know in that collective field, because like Abraham Hicks says, one soul connected to source is far more powerful than thousands that aren't. And so when you're connecting these technologies and working with Mama Gaia and her own consciousness and supporting that, it's like that light beam that I'm sure is created through one building or one space that you're creating. It's just so powerful. So there's one thing that I really want to emphasize here that we spoke about a little bit before. How can the architecture support in unlocking your DNA and gifts? There's so many layers to that question, but I'm excited to hear from you and see how it comes through.
Oh yeah. Um, Basically, now we know that humans are extremely potent, powerful beings that we have no idea how we can comprehend them. We know that we don't know anything about us. So now we can also see that we have a 98% dormant DNA in our body, and our abilities are unlocked to some certain forces. Um, and if we see our lives, how we are living our daily lives, and how the organic living creatures are living their lives, there's a huge difference and gap in between. And it is actually not like rocket science that we can see that once we create these optimal environments for living systems as us, and we go inside of these systems, the spirit does its work naturally. It's not just in the spiritual dimension that we are talking, it is on physical that affects our rearrange our cellular organs, rearrange our whole psyche, our mental, spiritual, emotional body at the same time with our physical body. And through this harmonizing affected fields, naturally, basically, that we can observe that this transformation is happening. So we'll elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was born into this world as like a child that was deeply sensitive to my environment. You know, loud noises, smells, unnatural materials. I couldn't handle them, almost like they were just unnatural to me, and they would make me feel suffocated and sick. And there's more and more children coming to the planet now that can't handle things that aren't natural. You know, they're becoming ill, and that's why we're seeing so many kids with learning disabilities and issues, because the world is not able to support them. So I feel like our gifts, you know, we're being born, already children are being born with amnesia, and then they're going into spaces that aren't harmonious. They're living on the 10th floor of a building, they're not touching the earth, and they're surrounded by pollution and noise. And I feel like all of these forces are disconnecting us from why we're here. We're intoxicated. And this is, you know, kind of where I found this path. I was talking about detoxing your life, detox your body, detox your thoughts, detox your home and environment. And what I've noticed is when I'm living in spaces that I feel good in, that I wake up like I feel peace and I'm not hearing noises, that's when spirit just moves through me, because I feel in alignment with who I'm here to be. And we're all the same thing, right? It's connecting us to the oneness that's all around us.
And basically, it is not that we have to do so many things, just we have to change whatever is not harmonious with us already. Once we remove blocks that we are feeling in our life unfolds that transformation naturally. And we can see that very, very quickly in our own lives. This is what we experience also in the presence of this harmonious energy flow patterns, either in the artworks or in the spaces that you can easily feel through your personal experience once you open the doors.
Yes. Yeah, I'm loving this, because as you're speaking, I'm having so many visions. And one of them, I just kind of want to explain from my perspective around how the energetic technology works as a human walks into the space, because you say that you can feel it. And so if we have like x-ray vision to the fifth dimension, we're able to see what's happening in our energy body. I feel like that's the vision that I'm having here. So I want to do my best to articulate it. So what I'm seeing is like a person walking into this field, and let's say there's just some densities or some darker energies, stored emotions, doesn't have to be anything like crazy intense, but stored emotions and stuck pains that are creating a lack of the flow through the energetic system. Well, what I'm seeing is because of the frequencies of the space, and we know that this is true with sound healing. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it with epigenetics, of healing the ancestral lines, and also the bridge that goes from our DNA also to our consciousness, and how that can also be activated by being in these higher dimensional fields or higher frequency fields. So what I'm seeing is that as this person walks in and those emotional blockages are there, it's simply by being in the field. Let's say it's like soaking in a hot springs where the minerals are there and your body starts to absorb the minerals, and allowing those minerals to come in starts to shift the composition of the body. That's what I'm seeing here with this, is that the frequency of the field is up leveling the frequency of the body by means of very gently and gracefully just releasing and detoxifying and clearing. So I think to that, there's another question that's popping up, is if you have people that are walking into these spaces and they're clearing and their systems are detoxifying energetically, and it can literally happen just so effortlessly that you don't even know that it's happening, which is a beautiful thing, other than you just know you feel better when you leave. um, what kind of spaces inside of these buildings do you have that also helps to release that energy that's being released from the person, or that like, how do you detox a space after the people have been detoxified?
So,
Interesting question. I like it.
yeah, I would love to reflect on that. Basically, human body is like antenna. We are like receiving and transmitting consciousness all the time. And if we see the world beyond the physical, if we go into the subatomic levels and underneath to basically the fields, that we just only see the fields. And there are so many studies, basically, not just about emotional aspect of it, as we see these fields is all in winter, changing the informational fields and basically changing the and giving each other basically a dance, a cosmic dance basic that we can see. And what we saw that through our, for example, if we check this phantom effect DNA experiments, that the human body is basically paints as they go. Basically, the whole field we impenetrate is just changed through our physical being. And not just us, everything around us is basically creating some certain frequency and some certain radio signal. Once you create a different signal in the radio through different spaces, the whole field effect changes, and human body corresponds to that. Depending on whatever emotional field that is engaged with them, people can have some very different experiences. Some can have some euphoric experience, some can just go into like deep crisis, into like trauma releasing. It is just the magic of that present moment and soul alignment. So I don't see that we are certainly creating these frequencies as much as we are trying to align with nature's source frequency and let the spirit does its own work for each individual.
Yeah, there's a reason that the temples were designed how they were designed. It's because they're ascension temples, and we don't really see that there's like this negative energy that's being released. It's more just everything's coming into alignment. So we're just kind of, just by being in the space, everything's kind of forming where it's meant to be. So yeah, it might start with a crisis, or it might start with this crazy euphoric experience, but it's just coming back to alignment. So in answer to your question, we don't really feel there's any need to kind of clear the space, because it's just happening. Everything's aligning in there. It's just, it can't not align. It's impossible not to align. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. We are just basically following the breadcrumbs of this human evolution. It is just whole ascension process. It is just so beyond our comprehension. But what we can right now do, just follow the breadcrumbs, and just as we go through these experiences, we unfold what is next in our evolution. And this is our basic primary guidance to explore, learn, and basically expand from that point.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, what I'm hearing is, like, when I first started developing my abilities, we were taught to heal. We were taught to do healings, clearing and is somebody's energetic aura, do aura clearings, that sort of thing. And then it's like we pull that energy out and it comes out, and then you like have to release and put your hands in the earth and that sort of stuff to clear. But as I really started, picking up speed, I knew that I naturally knew how to transmute energy. So that's what I'm hearing that you're saying. It's like the energy that goes in this space, it's just immediately transmuting to that higher vibration, which absolutely can happen and is possible. And again, it's like when you meet compassion with anger and rage, the anger and rage just immediately transmutes on contact to the frequency of compassion, where it's like it just smooths and calms the whole thing. um that's so beautiful. Well, so I have one more vision that came up, and it actually popped up almost like immediately when we started speaking today. So I'm going off-roading a bit, but I want to talk because Jodie, you spoke about children that are born in amnesia. I think we were all born in amnesia and went through a process of remembering. But what I've
Right.
also seen, especially through helping a friend deliver a baby on Bali, all of a sudden I got bombarded with baby spirits, and they were communicating to me, left and right. And one of the things that they continued to show me was that it's almost like I use the movie Finding Nemo as an example of that East Australian current that the turtles are in. I see
Mhm.
that vibrationally on this planet, that there are people that are living in that current, in that higher vibrational, aware and present current. And then there are babies that are born into this world in that current. So they're born aware, they're born awake, they're born remembering their soul experiences. And so, as you were speaking to this, I was seeing this vision of like an ideal, let's say like top of the top, ideal circumstance or home for a baby to be born, and also for a baby to be born with conscious and aware parents, so that they remember. I mean, how much of that
Mhm.
would have shortcut our trials and tribulations if we remembered at the age of 10 rather
Exactly.
than, where we are, sort of thing. Um, but I'm seeing that happening more and more and more. And one of the things that I was encouraged to speak about on Bali, which I was like, mind blown that these words were even coming out of my mouth, but was encouraging conscious parents to continue to procreate and to continue to have babies, because there are light beings and light warriors that know what they're stepping into. So I think there can
Mhm.
be that predisposition of, the world is so twisted, or it's so, crazy. And we've spoken to that a little bit. But when we talk about the ideal of creating that heaven on earth reality, and what you are literally building the architecture to, so it's not a pie in the sky or a feeling in your heart, which is absolutely real and true and valid, but to have a space that you can walk into, and then to have young people, young conscious beings who are in the human body. We all have to go through the childhood experience. But if we could imagine, just for a second, let's have fun with this. We could imagine a baby that's growing up and being raised in one of these buildings. Could you speak to that in this kind of visionary sort of ideal of what you might predict would happen to a being that's in that environment?
Yes, I mean this is one of my greatest inspirations. I was part of a birth when I was in Bali too, so I felt that field of life coming in and seeing its first breath. And since then, I've been unlocking a lot as well. So I share that with you. I feel like number one, if the baby is born in that environment where it's vibrating in alignment with its soul, it will naturally have that remembrance from the very beginning. And it's going to not be influenced by these outside forces. So many parents try and feed the baby the right food, and they try and block it from the world, but the issue is their homes aren't designed in a way that it's harmonious for the spirit. And it's that early stage, it's those first few months that are definitely the most critical for that remembrance period. Most of us spend our life trying to remember why we're here and doing the work of what happened in our past life and the traumas and all of that, without understanding why we're feeling how we feel. And I feel like if we could shortcut that, these gifts that these child have would be unlocked. Like Jan said, we're using a small part of our gifts. We don't even know what they are. And a lot of the time, our gifts in this world are seen as bad. Our gifts are not welcomed in this world. So if we can create spaces, communities, education facilities where these children, it's kind of like the Hogwarts, we're creating these schools. And that's our greatest dream. I think one of the greatest inspiration for many of these kind of, I guess you could say, light leaders on the planet right now is we're thinking, I want to have children, but I don't want to bring them into this world. And that's why we're being so inspired, because we believe in the future generations and we want to create spaces for the children to not do what we did, because we know we've got these gifts, but it's difficult to tap into them, right?
Yeah. And also we can see that already a lots of different changes basically happening in the new generations. They're not like us anymore.
No.
The new beings are coming here, like they're coming
Special.
extremely, and they have some different needs.
Yeah.
And the world that we see, what's not coherent with us, it's probably way more extreme to them too. And to be honest, I don't know the answer of your question. What can be possible in this environment? But it just excites me to what would be.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
infinite what could
Yeah.
happen. We have no idea, but definitely we're seeing more children coming to this earth that they can't fit into our current society. And that's because they're here to change it. So they're
Completely.
inspiring us. Yeah.
Completely. Like we've had the way showers of, you know, the real, I would say, spiritual expansion of the 1980s. We had Edgar Cayce in the late 1800s, but that was like an anomaly. And then it was like almost in the 80s was when there was a lot of books being published and a lot of things coming out that was paving the way. So I was born in 1988, and so like swimming into that and going through my own awakening around, I started remembering my past lives when I was about 10 or 12, but I had a real clear awakening after getting my degree in psychology and stepping onto the psychic path and like really exploring that. So that's my own little, you know, lane. But ultimately, I know that there's a timing to all of this. Like I know that I'm here, no kids, available to be able to support this leading edge movement because of also the way showers that came in the decades before me that paved the way. And I know that we are all doing that as well for these conscious beings. And like you're saying, it's like there's just Benjamin Buttons popping up all over the place. It's like the wisdom that you see in these little toddlers. You're like, oh my, you can feel it. And so I think I share in that excitement very much of like how exciting. I'm just like, I'm visioning and I'm playing, so I'm going with it. But like, how exciting would it be? We think of the hospital costs, right? Of how much it costs to have a baby. But how exciting would it be to have a birthing center and then that first 40 days being in one of these environments that just allows that information to flow through, not just for the baby, but also for the family, so that it's like that encoded imprint becomes the first experience for these like, I mean, the possibilities of what you guys are doing are just endless. So for some reason, there's like the baby vibe here and how exciting that can be for these young souls that are coming in. It's just, I'm goodness, I turned into the little goo-goo lady over here.
It is actually so beautiful what you tap into. Actually, the process of designing and finding solutions for giving the new birthing paradigms, and just creating our own project. Maybe we can tap into a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
We haven't shared that much. Maybe we can another conversation about that too in depth. But we are actually in this very moment on the process of gathering our universal team, let's say our brothers and sisters, to create what would be possible if we create a most harmonious environment as cities.
Yeah.
So we are in the process of designing, cultivating, and bringing ideas of this new project. And we're actually quite excited about why just coming to, because birthing centers are one of the fundamental parts of that, which I wanted to share.
That's
Yes.
right. I mean, we're doing a lot of projects for other people right now, and you know, we're doing that to learn and gather wisdom and to create spaces for others. But ultimately, the real reason we're here is because we want to create these cities around the world, with the schooling, with the birthing centers, with the hospitals, with the healing technologies. And we want to spread these everywhere, and we all want it. And we're meeting with people right now that have been working on this for decades. They've been looking at these systems off grid, new finance models, and everything's actually already here. And there's so many different people separately working on their part. And now, as we mentioned earlier, the puzzle piece, we're actually collecting them and we're ready. Like, we know we're going to build a city and we're looking for people. So if anyone's watching this and they're feeling excited and interested, please reach out to us, because we're looking for everyone, because this isn't our thing, it's everyone's. And I know we all want it. And so many people I speak to are like, I want to do this, but I don't know how. And they just kind of step back and they don't do anything. But together we can do so much together. And
Yeah, this is this is what we believe, the power of the collective. And yeah, our doors are open. Anyone who feels the call to join this universal team of bringing the new level of experience to this planet at this very moment.
Yes, we need you all. We need everyone.
I just have rolling chills through my body, and I don't think my cheeks have hurt so much in an interview. I'm so excited for the possibilities that you are bringing in. And what I just simply want to personally say is a prayer of guided protection, and may that slipstream of divine alignment be always in your favor. That as you continue to do this work, that you are attracting the people, as I mentioned, with eyes to see and ears to hear, to be aligned with you in this vision, so that it may be created, and also that it is being created in a dimensional space, again, that is protected and that is invisible to those who are not meant to see it, because that is absolutely a part of the reality that you are building and creating in this earth. So beyond and beyond and beyond, thank you infinitely for following your soul calling and taking this initiative and really, taking every single step, because your vision is absolutely huge. And I am here every single step of the way, cheering you on. Anything that you need, of course, I am an ally. And so for those that are tuning in and watching, if you haven't already, click to check out the website. And if you're feeling the call, stay connected. Definitely get on their email list, follow them on social media, so that you can stay tuned into what their vision is. And you never know what's going to open up through this now, or, whenever that spark opens. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, I am so honored to know you. I'm so honored to call you both friends. And I'm just so excited to see how this unfolds and shapes up for you. And of course, if there's anything you need in any way that I can support, I'm always here and happy to be an ally. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much, sister. And we are super excited for this new unfolding for all of us. And yeah, we cannot wait. What's waiting us? Let's do it. It's the time right now. Let's do it.
Yes. We can all live together in this city where we're outside of, bring that Bali community back together. During that time, it was so powerful, and I feel like we can create that big scale.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, my loves. Well, thank you again, and for those of you that are tuning in, thank you for listening, and I will see you again on the next interview. Mwah! Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.